Hey guys, tonight we're going on a slow, gentle journey, wandering through the dusty alleys and sun-drenched fields of ancient India, where cows were more than just animals. They were symbols of life, luck, and sometimes a little bit of chaos. You can almost feel the warm breeze against your skin, carrying the faint scent of cardamom and sandalwood, and maybe, just maybe, a subtle hint of cow dung. Don't worry, you'll get used to it. So, before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. And let me know in the comments, where are you listening from, and what time is it right now? Now dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. You shuffle through the narrow, uneven paths of a crowded market, the soles of your sandals kicking up little puffs of dust as you go. The sun hangs low, a glowing disk in a hazy sky, and every breath feels thick with the heat of the day. All around you, the sounds of daily life tumble together. Merchants calling out their prices, the rhythmic slap of cloth against stone, and the occasional clatter of a cartwheel that never seems quite round enough. But above all the noise, you hear the gentle lowing of cows. They're everywhere, standing in the middle of the street like they own the place, calmly chewing on bits of straw, tails flicking lazily. Their eyes are half-lidded, as if they're too wise or too bored to be bothered by the chaos around them. You try to sidestep a particularly large one, but it shifts at the last moment, blocking your path completely. You see the kind of sigh that says, "Really? Right now?" But the cow just stares at you, unblinking, and you realize you're the guest here. She's the queen of this street, and you're just passing through. In fact, in ancient India, cows weren't just animals to be herded or milked. They were agnya, that's Sanskrit for not to be killed. Sacred beings, living symbols of abundance, like a walking, mooing cornucopia. People believed cows carried the blessings of the gods, especially the goddess Aditi, considered the mother of all life. So yeah, you couldn't exactly give a cow a stern talking to for blocking your way. You just had to accept it, like a traffic jam caused by the universe itself. As you walk, you notice little shrines tucked into the corners of buildings. Small clay statues of Nandi, the sacred bull, companion of Lord Shiva. Some are draped with faded marigold garlands, their petals crisp and dry from the sun. A woman squats nearby, smearing a mixture of cow dung and water onto her doorstep. She hums softly as she works, as if it's the most natural thing in the world, which, in her case, it is. You wonder if she knows that centuries later, people would still debate whether cow dung has antibacterial properties, or if that's just a clever excuse for its, aromatic presence. A little boy runs past, barefoot, giggling as he dodges a cow that's decided to nap right in the middle of the road. You watch as the boy's mother scolds him lightly, then turns to the cow and gives it a respectful nod. Namaste, Devi. It's like watching a scene from a storybook, except the story has been told for thousands of years, whispered from one generation to the next. You pause by a fruit vendor, the scent of ripe mangoes thick in the air, and listen as an old man with a long white beard spins a tale about a cow named Kimadenu. According to him, Kamadenu could grant any wish, her milk flowing endlessly like a river of blessings. You imagine having a cow like that in your life? No more grocery runs, just milk on demand, forever. It sounds convenient, until you realize you'd probably end up with more milk than you'd ever need. Like, way more. You'd be that person giving milk away to neighbors, co-workers, and random strangers on the street. As the sun dips lower, casting everything in a warm golden glow, the air cools just a bit. You notice a cow gently nudging a vendor's basket, her eyes hopeful, her nose twitching as if she knows exactly where the sweet jaggery is hidden. The vendor laughs and tosses a small lump her way. The cow catches it gracefully. Well, as gracefully as a cow can, and chews with slow, deliberate satisfaction. It's a small moment, but somehow it feels bigger than it should. The cow isn't just an animal here. She's part of the fabric of life, woven into the rhythms of the street, the prayers in the temples, the stories told over dinner. It's almost like she's watching over everything, her presence a quiet reminder that in this ancient world, some lives are meant to be cherished simply because they exist. And as the evening stretches on, you feel a kind of calm settle over you. The market starts to quiet, the vendors packing up their wares, the cows slowly drifting toward the temple gates, their hooves clicking softly on the worn stones. You find yourself wondering, why cows? Why these creatures with their slow, steady gaze and their endless chewing? You're not alone in that question. Historians still debate it today. Was it religious devotion, economic utility, or a clever way to keep people from eating all the cows during a famine? No one seems to agree completely. But out here, in this timeless scene, none of that really matters. The cows are simply here, gentle, sacred, and somehow eternal. You feel the weight of the day settle into your bones, the soft rustle of the trees above, blending with the distant, rhythmic clink of temple bells. Your eyelids grow heavy, the sounds around you melting into a gentle hum. And for now, at least, it feels like the world is at peace. The night air is cooler now, a welcome relief from the heavy heat of the day. You wander a little further, your footsteps soft against the dusty earth, and find yourself near a temple courtyard, glowing in the golden haze of oil lamps. The faint scent of jasmine and burning ghee curls in the air, mingling with something more organic. Yep, there's the unmistakable tang of cow dung again, an oddly comforting, earthy note that feels as much a part of the atmosphere as the chanting of the priests. You pause near the temple's entrance, the stone cool under your fingers, watching as a priest ties marigold garlands around a cow's neck. The cow stands perfectly still, her large eyes half closed as if she's in a meditative trance, the little brass bells on her collar jingling with each breath. The priest murmurs a mantra under his breath, his fingers working quickly, as if he's done this 1,000 times before. A woman approaches with a small bowl of milk, tipping it gently onto the cow's front hooves. The milk splashes onto the ground, forming a small, pearly pool. It feels like such a small gesture, and yet, in this world, it carries the weight of centuries. A kind of silent, unspoken promise that these creatures are more than just livestock. They are vessels of purity, bridges between the earthly and the divine. You lean in a little, curious, as an older man beside you explains that in some temples, cows are treated almost like visiting royalty. They're adorned with turmeric and sandalwood paste, their horns painted bright colors, and sometimes they even get little golden caps. You imagine trying to convince your neighbor's grumpy tabby cat to wear a tiny golden hat, and yep, that would end in disaster. But the cows here, they seem to accept it all with a kind of dignified, slow blink, as if to say, yes, I know I'm fabulous. A bell rings softly in the distance, marking the evening prayers. The priest waves a small flame in front of the cow's face, an arti, a gesture of reverence. The firelight flickers in the cow's eyes, and for a brief moment, you swear she looks almost amused. Like she's seen it all before, 1,000 times over, and she's just waiting for the humans to catch up. You find yourself wondering, why milk? Why offer milk to a cow? It feels a bit like bringing sand to the beach, doesn't it? But as you listen, you hear a story whispered among the devotees. It's said that milk symbolizes the essence of life, a gift from the earth through the cow to humankind. Offering it back is a way of acknowledging that flow, giving thanks for the gift by returning it to its source. The soft chants blend with the sound of sandals shuffling on stone, the flickering of the oil lamps, and the occasional thwap of a palm fan trying to chase away the mosquitoes. It's a strangely peaceful scene, and yet you can't help but think, wouldn't this all be a bit chaotic if cows weren't so, well, mellow? Imagine trying to garland a goat or a water buffalo. Yeah, good luck with that. As the prayers end, the priest turns to the small crowd and begins telling the tale of Surabhi, the celestial cow. According to legend, Surabhi was born from the churning of the cosmic ocean, a creature of pure abundance, her milk nourishing gods and mortals alike. You picture it in your mind's eye, a vast swirling ocean of stars, and from its depths rises this shimmering cow, glowing with starlight and cosmic dust. It's a bit much maybe, but then again, the universe has always been full of surprises. You glance at the cow again, her marigold garland glowing softly in the lamplight, and you wonder, does she know? Does she feel the weight of all this symbolism, all these stories and prayers tied to her existence? Or is she just here, breathing, blinking, and occasionally flicking her ears at a pesky fly? Some historians still debate whether cows were truly sacred from the start, or if their status grew over time, maybe out of necessity, or maybe as a way to protect a vital source of milk, manure, and draft power. After all, in an agrarian society, cows were life itself. But standing here, in the fading glow of the temple lamps, it's hard to imagine them as anything but sacred. A gentle breeze rustles the leaves overhead, carrying the faint, sweet smell of ghee, incense, and cow fur. You close your eyes for a moment, feeling the weight of the day slipping away, replaced by the soft hum of the night. The cows shift slowly, their bells jingling, and you feel your breath match the rhythm of their movements. Slow, steady, unhurried, the temple fades into the background as you continue your walk, the echoes of prayers and the soft lowing of cows blending into the warm darkness. The world feels softer here, the edges of time blurring just a little, and you wonder what stories the night will bring next. The road dips gently, winding past low stone walls and clusters of neem trees, their branches heavy with leaves that whisper in the night air. You feel the cool dust beneath your feet, the kind that sticks to your sandals and clings like a memory. The sky overhead has deepened to a soft velvet, stars just beginning to blink into view, like pinpricks in an old, worn cloth. You're not walking alone anymore. A small group of villagers has gathered under a sprawling peepal tree, its trunk gnarled with age, its roots spilling over the earth like lazy serpents. They sit cross-legged, sharing simple clay bowls of rice and lentils, their laughter low and warm. One of them waves you over, patting the ground beside him. You settle in, the rough bark of the tree at your back, the scent of wood smoke and cumin in the air. A woman passes you a piece of flatbread, still warm from the fire, and the man beside you grins, his teeth a flash of white in the dim light, as he begins to tell the story of Kamadenu, the mythical cow of plenty. You can almost hear the shift in the air, the way the group leans in, the soft crack of someone snapping a twig between their fingers. Kamadenu, he says, wasn't just any cow. She was the mother of all cows, a celestial being born from the churning of the ocean of milk, a cosmic event that, honestly, sounds like the universe's attempt at making a giant milkshake. Kamadenu could grant any wish, her milk flowing endlessly, nourishing gods, sages, and mortals alike. It's said that her presence alone could bless a household with prosperity, health, and happiness. You chew your bread slowly, the warm, buttery taste grounding you as you imagine such a creature, her coat gleaming like the moon, her breath scented with flowers, her hooves leaving prints that sprouted grass in the desert. It's a lot to take in, and for a moment you wonder if you've eaten too much lentil stew, because it's starting to sound like the plot of a particularly ambitious bedtime story. The man pauses, his eyes twinkling, and leans closer as if to share a secret. Of course, some say Kamadenu's milk wasn't just for making butter or yogurt. It had powers, could heal sickness, could purify sin, could even protect you from evil spirits. You blink, half expecting to see a cow somewhere in the shadows, wearing a little cape and fighting off demons. But no, the cows you spot are dozing nearby, their tails twitching occasionally in their sleep, completely unaware of their supposed cosmic responsibilities. The conversation drifts into quieter tones, someone tossing a small stone toward a cow that started to nibble on their dinner basket. The cow blinks, unimpressed, and continues munching. You have to admit, they're kind of like nature's freeloaders, always showing up uninvited, helping themselves to snacks, and somehow, no one minds. The talk turns practical, as an elderly woman with a voice like rustling leaves reminds the group that even in the Vedic texts, cows were described as the backbone of life. Gau Mata, the mother cow, the giver of sustenance. Their milk wasn't just a drink, it was a symbol of fertility, of nourishment, of the cycle of life itself. You wonder, quietly, if cows knew this, if they carried themselves with a bit more swagger because of it. Like, do they think, yes, I am literally the backbone of your society, now fetch me some hay. A gust of wind stirs the leaves, and you hear the faint ding of a cowbell in the distance, soft and almost dreamlike. Someone passes around a bowl of sweetened milk, the smell of cardamom rising from the cup, and you take a slow sip, feeling it warm you from the inside out. It's oddly comforting, like the world is slowing down just for you, and everything that felt heavy earlier has melted into the night. A child leans against your shoulder, half asleep, mumbling about a dream where a cow flew across the moon. You smile to yourself, because, honestly, who's to say it didn't happen? After all, there's a lot historians still argue about when it comes to these stories. Was Kamadinu a symbol of abundance, or just a myth to explain the value of cows in a farming society? Did she represent the literal wealth of livestock, or the spiritual wealth of faith and devotion? The debates go on, as they always do. But here, under the peepal tree, surrounded by the slow breathing of cows and the low murmur of voices, none of that really matters. The stories live on, soft and persistent, like the glow of fireflies in the dark. You let the sounds wrap around you, the crackle of the fire, the gentle rustle of grass as a cow shifts in her sleep, the distant, rhythmic chant of a prayer drifting on the breeze. And as your eyelids grow heavier, you wonder what other stories the night has tucked away, waiting to be told. The night deepens, and as you rise slowly from your spot beneath the peepal tree, the fire's embers glowing like sleepy eyes, you feel the gentle tug of curiosity pulling you further along the winding path. Your footsteps are soft in the dust, the cool air carrying a faint scent of damp earth and the distant murmur of water. You find yourself drawn toward the riverbank, where the Ganges glides by in slow, silvery ribbons, reflecting the soft shimmer of the moonlight. The water whispers against the stones, a quiet, rhythmic hush, as if it's sharing secrets only the night can hear. And there, in the shallows, stand a group of water buffalo, massive, dark silhouettes against the gleaming water. They move with a kind of sleepy elegance, tails swishing idly, their breath steaming in the cool air. One snorts softly, as if amused by some cosmic joke only buffalo understand. Nearby, a Brahmin sits cross-legged on a flat rock, his white robes glowing faintly in the moonlight, his hands folded in a gesture of quiet contemplation. His hair is tied high in a knot, and his eyes are half closed, as if he's watching the river dream. You step closer, the cool grass brushing your ankles, and he turns his head slightly, acknowledging your presence without breaking the calm. "You know," he says in a voice as soft as the breeze, To truly understand why cows are sacred, you must first understand ahimsa, the principle of non-violence. The word lingers in the air, as if it's waiting for you to catch its meaning. Ahimsa, not just an idea, but a way of life, a belief that all living beings carry a spark of the divine, and that harming them harms not only the creature, but also the harmony of the universe. It's a heavy thought, especially when you realize that in ancient times, this wasn't just philosophy, it was practical too. Protect the cow, and you protect your food, your fuel, your plowing power. You watch as the Brahmin picks up a small brass pot and gently pours water into the river, murmuring a mantra under his breath. The ripples carry the offering away, and you wonder, does the river ever get tired of all these prayers, all these hopes poured into its endless flow? A breeze rustles the tall grasses, and you shiver slightly, feeling the cool dampness seep into your skin. The Brahmin notices and smiles faintly. Cows, he says, as if resuming a lecture you didn't know you'd signed up for, are givers. They ask for little and give much. Milk, dung for fires, urine for medicine. Wait, hold up. Urine for medicine. You blink, and the Brahmin chuckles softly, as if he's heard that reaction 1,000 times before. Yes, he says. In some texts, it's written that cow urine has healing properties. It's even been used to cleanse wounds, mixed with herbs. You make a mental note to be grateful for modern antibiotics, and try not to imagine ancient bandages soaked in. Well, you get the idea. The Brahmin's voice softens, and you hear the river's quiet laughter, mingling with the distant mooing of cows. He tells you that some stories claim even the gods once walked among cows, choosing to be born into their forms, to live simple, humble lives. It's a reminder, he says, that the divine isn't always found in temples or in grand palaces, but sometimes in the quiet, warm breath of an animal, in the soft rustling of grass, in the glint of moonlight on a water buffalo's horn. You wonder if the cows know all this, if they sense the reverence, the stories, the weight of all these human beliefs tied to their very existence. Or if they're just living their cow lives, content with a good patch of grass and an occasional head scratch. The river flows on, steady and unhurried, and the Brahmin's voice drifts like a soft melody in the night air. Some historians argue, he says thoughtfully, whether cows became sacred because of spiritual ideas or because they were too useful to kill. It's a debate that's lasted for centuries. You nod absently, though your eyelids feel heavy, as if the night itself is wrapping you in a soft, invisible blanket. The buffalo shift in the water, their dark forms blending with the shadows, and you hear a soft, rhythmic splash as one of them wades deeper into the river, sending little ripples sparkling across the surface. You breathe in slowly, the scent of wet earth and river grass filling your lungs, and let the sounds wash over you. The gentle lowing of cows, the soft muttering of the Brahmin's prayers, the distant rustle of wind through the trees. The world feels so far away now, as if you've stepped into a dream, woven from moonlight, river songs, and the slow, steady breath of sacred cows. The stars shimmer brighter now, their light scattered across the river like tiny, ancient lamps. You feel the night pressing in, soft and cool, as you wander from the riverbank back toward the village's quiet heart. The air hums with the faint scent of cooking fires, ghee sizzling on iron pans, the smoky tang of charred spices, and somewhere, a distant waft of warm milk. You pause by a small house, its mud walls smooth and cool beneath your fingertips, and peek inside. The flickering light of a clay lamp dances across the faces of a family gathered on woven mats. A woman kneels over a stone grinder, her hands moving in a steady rhythm, crushing barley into a fine powder that will soon become flour. The sound is soothing, like a gentle heartbeat, steady and sure. An old man sits nearby, his back hunched, his hands wrapped around a clay cup of steaming milk. He's mumbling softly, half to himself, half to the night, something about the Rig Veda. You tilt your head, catching bits of his words. Praises sung to cows as Agnya, the not to be killed. His voice blends with the quiet clink of grinding stone, and you feel like you're slipping into a memory older than memory itself. He leans back, sighing, and mutters something that makes you blink. You know, in the old days, cow dung was sacred too. Wait, sacred dung? You try not to wrinkle your nose, but curiosity wins. He smiles, a toothless grin that crinkles his face like old parchment, and continues, Yes, they'd mix cow dung with mud to coat walls, keeping out insects and evil spirits, and in the winter, it kept the houses warm, even for cooking. It fueled the fires that made our bread. You glance at the small hearth where a pot bubbles gently, and suddenly that faint, smoky aroma you noticed earlier clicks into place. You're practically surrounded by the quiet gifts of cows. Milk in the cup, dung in the fire, even the ghee in the pan. It's like being in the middle of an ancient ecosystem, where every part of the cow was honored, used, and somehow sacred. A child stirs in the corner, rubbing her eyes, and the woman offers her a small ball of jaggery. The girl bites into it, and you watch as she smiles, her face sticky with sweetness. The old man nods approvingly and says, almost like a bedtime story, In the Vedas, cows are called the mothers of all. They give us food, fuel, even medicine. It is said that if you take care of cows, they will take care of you in return. You imagine a world like that, one where you'd measure wealth not in coins, but in cows, where your fortune mooed softly at dawn and left you fresh milk at sunrise. A world where cows weren't just part of life, but life itself. The conversation drifts, as conversations do late at night. Someone chuckles softly about the neighbor who claimed his cow once predicted a storm. Just watched the clouds and load at the perfect moment, like a furry little weather prophet. There's laughter, the kind that bubbles up gently, not loud or sharp, but warm and worn smooth by the years. You lean back, feeling the rough texture of the wall behind you, the scent of barley and ghee filling the air, and wonder, did the cows know they were so important, that they were being written into hymns, whispered into prayers, even smeared on walls as a kind of ancient wallpaper? The old man lets out a long breath, the kind that carries stories with it, and mutters, Some say the gods themselves once took the form of cows to walk among us. You imagine it for a moment, a cosmic cow, its eyes shimmering with stars, wandering through a quiet village like this one, perhaps stopping to sniff a basket of lentils or steal a banana. Historians still debate why cows became sacred. Was it spiritual devotion or a clever way to preserve resources in a hungry world? The old man waves a hand dismissively, as if brushing away centuries of academic papers. Does it matter? He asks softly. The stories live on, and the cows, well, they are still here. A breeze stirs the smoky air, carrying with it the gentle clink of the grinder, the crackle of the fire, and the soft rhythmic lowing of a cow nearby. It's a lullaby of sorts, ancient, repetitive, grounding. You feel your own breath slow, your shoulders loosen, and your eyes grow heavier with the weight of the night. The family's quiet laughter fades into the stillness, and the stars outside shine a little brighter, as if they too are listening to the soft, steady hum of a world where cows and humans have been bound together for longer than you can quite understand. The night is deep now, velvety and calm, and as you rise to leave the warm glow of the village, house behind, the air greets you like a cool, dark ocean. You walk slowly, your footsteps muffled by the dust, and ahead, you catch the glint of something unexpected. Torches, bobbing in the distance like fireflies. You follow the flickering lights, curiosity tugging at your heels until the sound of drums reaches your ears, a low, steady rhythm that feels more like the heartbeat of the earth than music. The drums grow louder, and soon you find yourself at the edge of a grand procession, the air thick with excitement and the sweet, smoky scent of burning camphor. A royal chariot rolls slowly through the crowd, pulled by two sleek white horses, their harnesses adorned with bells that jingle in a hypnotic rhythm. On the chariot stands the king himself, draped in silks that shimmer like starlight, his hands resting on the hilt of a curved sword. But your gaze doesn't stay on him for long, because just behind the chariot, walking with slow, deliberate steps, are two cows, their horns wrapped in garlands of marigolds and turmeric, their foreheads marked with vermilion dots. The people around you bow their heads as the cows pass, some reaching out to touch them with the tips of their fingers, as if seeking a blessing. The cows seem utterly unimpressed, their eyes half closed, their jaws working methodically as they chew on something that you're pretty sure isn't part of the royal feast. You sidestep a group of children trailing after the cows, giggling and whispering about how one of them, the spotted one, once wandered into the palace kitchen and ate the queen's lunch. The children's laughter is infectious, and you find yourself smiling, imagining a royal chef frantically trying to shoo a cow away from a platter of saffron rice. The procession slows as it approaches a temple, the drums fading into a soft, expectant silence. A priest steps forward, his hands raised, and the crowd parts as the cows are led to the front. A bowl of ghee is brought out, and the priest begins to pour it over a small flame, chanting softly, the words curling up into the night like smoke. You catch snippets of the prayer, something about prosperity, something about peace, something about the cows being a gift from the gods. It's a heady mix of reverence and practicality, and you wonder again if the cows have any idea they're the stars of the show. The scent of the ghee burning is rich, almost buttery, and it mixes with the faint, grassy musk of the cows themselves. You feel the energy of the crowd, quiet, respectful, yet somehow buzzing with something unspoken. The king steps down from his chariot, placing a hand gently on the back of one of the cows, and for a moment, it feels as if time itself has paused. Like this moment, this exact alignment of human, cow, and ritual has been happening for centuries. You hear a voice nearby, an elderly man with a walking stick, leaning on it like a storyteller about to share a secret. "You know," he murmurs, "in the old days, cows were sometimes given as royal gifts, a sign of favor, of wealth, of peace between kingdoms." You glance at the cows again, their marigold garlands glowing softly in the lamplight, and try to imagine receiving a cow as a gift. Would you write a thank you note? Would you name it after the person who gave it to you? And if so, would that be flattering or awkward? The man continues, his voice low, almost conspiratorial. There are still debates about it, of course, whether the cows were truly sacred or just so valuable that no one wanted to risk upsetting the gods by harming them. After all, they were the source of milk, fuel, fertilizer, a whole economy on 4 legs. You nod slowly, the soft rhythm of the drums returning now, blending with the night breeze, the flicker of the flames, and the faint, steady clink of bells tied around the cows' necks. The crowd begins to disperse, their footsteps fading into the night, leaving the cows to stand quietly by the temple gates, tails swishing lazily, their eyes half closed as if they've seen it all before. And maybe they have. You linger a little longer, feeling the hush of the temple wrap around you, the scent of ghee and marigolds lingering in the air. A soft breath of wind brushes past your cheek, carrying with it the faintest hint of something ancient. The cows graze quietly in the shadows, their presence both mundane and somehow sacred. You feel the weight of the night settle into your bones, the slow rhythm of the universe pulsing quietly in your ears, and as you step away, the memory of the procession, of the king, the priest, the cows adorned like deities, drifts with you, like the soft ringing of temple bells long after the sound has faded. The night hums gently as you drift away from the temple gates, the scent of marigolds and ghee still clinging faintly to the air. Your footsteps carry you down a winding path, past quiet courtyards and low mud-brick homes, until the sounds of the royal procession fade into a distant memory. Ahead, the soft glow of lanterns flickers through the trees, and as you step closer, the air grows warmer, infused with the mingling aromas of cardamom, cumin, and, yes, unmistakably, milk bubbling in large brass pots. A village festival is in full swing, and the scene feels like something out of a storybook. Families gathered beneath the stars, musicians plucking strings and tapping drums, and the gentle clink of bangles as women stir pots over open fires. The cows are here too, of course, wandering lazily between the crowds, their bells jingling softly with every slow step. One cow, in particular, catches your eye. A large, dappled creature, with eyes so calm, you feel like she might blink you into a trance if you stare too long. A little boy is tying a garland of jasmine around her neck, his fingers fumbling clumsily as he giggles at her swishing tail. His grandmother watches nearby, her hands busy churning a pot of curd, while her eyes follow the boy with a quiet fondness that says, "Let him try. She's part of our family." You settle near a group of elders, their conversation drifting through the warm air, thick with stories and the faint crackle of roasting lentils. One of them gestures with his cup of spiced milk, thick, creamy, flecked with saffron, and launches into a tale that makes everyone lean in. He speaks of how, during certain rituals, devotees would pour milk over a Shiva lingam, offering it as a symbol of life and purity. It's said that milk flows not just from the cow's body, but from the universe itself, a gift from the divine, passed down through generations, warming hands and hearts alike. You sip your own cup, the milk rich and sweet, and feel the warmth spread through you. There's something almost hypnotic about it. The way the music, the stories, the smell of spices, and the soft rustle of cowtails all weave together into a kind of living tapestry. A trader nearby grumbles good-naturedly about the price of ghee, waving his hands dramatically as he recounts a story about how a cow once wandered into his shop, knocked over a jar of clarified butter, and licked it up before he could stop her. The group erupts in laughter, someone teasing that perhaps the cow was simply making an offering of her own. The conversation drifts, as it tends to, into debates about the value of cows in trade. Someone mentions that in the old days, cows were often exchanged like currency, given as dowries, paid as fines, or even used to settle debts. You try to imagine that in the modern world, going to a bank, not for a loan, but for a cow, the teller's expression alone would be worth the visit. There's a pause in the conversation as someone plucks a simple melody on a stringed instrument, the notes soft and lilting. The cows seem to sway slightly, their ears flicking as if they're listening too, and for a moment you wonder if they really do appreciate music, or if they're just waiting for someone to drop a chapati. A breeze stirs the lantern flames, casting flickering shadows across the ground. The elder leans back, a thoughtful look in his eyes, and says, almost to himself, "They say cows are the threads that stitch our lives together. Milk for nourishment, dung for fuel, blessings for the soul." You feel that thought settle over you like a warm blanket, the quiet hum of the festival wrapping around your senses, the distant clatter of cooking pots, the soft moo of a cow near the fire, the gentle murmur of voices blending into the night. And as you close your eyes for a moment, you imagine the countless hands that have poured milk over stones, the prayers whispered into the ears of cows, the quiet gratitude for creatures who give so much without ever asking for more. Some historians, you recall, still argue about the true roots of this reverence. Was it all spiritual, or a clever way to protect resources in a land that knew droughts and scarcity all too well? The debate lingers, like smoke from the cooking fires, drifting into the air, but never quite settling. You open your eyes, the glow of the festival still soft and warm around you, and catch sight of the dappled cow again. Her eyes half-lidded, her breath slow and steady, as if she's known all along that the world will keep turning, and the stories will keep spinning long after the fires burn low. The night stretches on, the festival's warmth slowly fading behind you as you wander back toward the quieter edges of the village. Your sandals scuff gently against the earth, and the air feels heavier now, damp with dew, laced with the scent of grass and smoke, and yes, that faint, familiar tang of cow dung that seems to follow you like a quiet, persistent companion. As you pass a small mud-walled house, you pause. The doorway is framed with faded garlands, and inside, the glow of a flickering oil lamp spills across the floor there, hunched over a stack of palm leaf manuscripts. Is a young boy, frowning in concentration as he copies lines of ancient Sanskrit onto the brittle leaves. His fingers are stained with ink, and his tongue sticks out slightly in that universal expression of fierce focus. Whether you're solving a math problem, or apparently deciphering a few thousand-year-old hymn. You step closer, curiosity tugging at you, and notice the title scrawled at the top of the leaf. The Virtues of the Cow. The boy mutters under his breath, repeating lines as he writes, and you catch fragments. Giver of milk, purifier of homes, bringer of blessings. His mother, sitting nearby on a woven mat, looks up and smiles. He's studying for the festival, she says softly, her voice warm and lilting. They'll recite verses tomorrow at the temple. You glance back at the boy's work and can't help but chuckle softly when you see the next line. Cow dung, when mixed with ash and spread at the threshold, keeps demons away. Ah yes, the sacred dung, back again. You raise an eyebrow, and the mother laughs quietly, as if she's heard that reaction before. It's an old belief, she says, but some still follow it. Keeps the snakes out too, they say. You nod slowly, though you're pretty sure the snakes have their own opinions on the matter. The boy, oblivious to your amusement, continues muttering, his brow furrowed in determination. You wonder if he realizes how many generations have whispered these same words, tracing the same lines, their breath mingling with the scent of ink and oil lamps. It's a ritual as old as the language itself, learning not just the letters, but the weight of a culture, the reverence that clings to cows like a second skin. You glance around the room, noticing a small clay pot in the corner, filled with what looks like, yes, cow dung paste. The walls, too, have been smoothed with a layer of mud and dung, giving off that faint, earthy scent. It's a little strange, isn't it? How something that might make a modern city dweller wrinkle their nose is, in this world, a symbol of purity. The same dung that fuels fires, smooths walls, and wards off pests also plays a role in toothpaste, floor polish, and even medicine. You make a mental note. Next time someone boasts about their all-natural organic lifestyle, maybe ask if they've tried brushing their teeth with cow dung. The boy pauses, looking up from his manuscript with a puzzled frown. He tilts his head as if a thought just occurred to him, and asks his mother, "Why do we say cows are so special? Is it because they give milk, or because they're in the stories?" His mother smiles, her eyes crinkling in the lamplight, and gives a simple answer. Both. Because they help us, and because we believe they are sacred. You let that settle for a moment. The simplicity of it. No grand theological debate, no footnotes or citations. Just a quiet truth, passed from one generation to the next. The boy yawns, stretching his arms wide, and the mother smooths his hair back with a gentle hand. The oil lamp flickers, casting long, soft shadows on the walls, and you feel the weight of the night press a little heavier on your shoulders. Outside, a cow ambles past, its bells tinkling faintly, and you hear the soft thump of its tail against its side. The world outside is slowing, quieting, folding in on itself for the night, and still the stories linger. The boy's voice, whispering the verses, the mother's hand on his head, the flicker of the lamp, the smell of warm milk and dung in the air, all of it weaving together into a soft, unbroken hum. Historians might still argue whether the reverence for cows was born out of necessity or belief, but here, in this quiet room, it doesn't seem to matter much. The lines on the palm leaf are ancient, but the hands that write them are new. The stories are old, but they live on in the voices of children. You step back into the cool night, the air heavy with the scent of earth and grass, and the sound of the cow's slow, steady breath following you like a lullaby. The air feels softer now, cooler against your skin as you drift further down the quiet path, your footsteps muffled by the soft earth beneath. The moon hangs low, casting a silvery glow over the fields, and somewhere in the distance, a flute plays a haunting melody, its notes carrying across the open space like a gentle sigh. You find yourself approaching a small cluster of huts, their thatched roofs dark silhouettes against the pale sky. A warm, faintly sweet smell reaches your nose. Wood smoke, spiced milk, and something else. A deep, earthy scent that seems to cling to the very air. You follow it like a thread, and soon you come upon a small figure crouched beside a low fire, carefully feeding handfuls of dry dung into the flames. It's a farmer, his hands weathered and cracked from years of labor, his bare feet dusted with fine, powdery soil. His clothes are simple, rough cotton, faded with time, but his movements are precise, almost ritualistic, as he tends the fire with a quiet reverence. He glances up as you approach, a slow smile spreading across his face, and gestures for you to sit beside him. The fire crackles softly, sending little sparks into the night, and the smell of burning dung, rich, smoky, oddly sweet, wraps around you like an old, familiar blanket. You hesitate for a moment, but the farmer just chuckles softly, the sound low and warm, as if he's heard your unspoken question 1,000 times before. "Yes," he says. "Cow dung keeps the fire burning steady. No need for wood when you have cows." You nod slowly, watching as he stirs a pot resting on the embers, the creamy surface bubbling gently. The smell is mouth-watering, thick, rich milk simmering with cardamom and a hint of saffron. You glance around and notice small patties of dry dung stacked neatly in the corner, like rustic little fuel bricks, each one a quiet testament to the practical magic of the cow. The farmer reaches for a ladle, pours a little of the golden milk into a clay cup, and hands it to you with a grin. You sip slowly, the warmth spreading through your chest, the taste comforting and sweet, and you find yourself wondering how many generations have sat here, by fires like this, sustained by the quiet generosity of cows. He tells you, in a low, steady voice, that in the old days, cow dung wasn't just fuel. It was mixed with water to plaster floors, ward off pests, and even used in rituals for purification. There's an old saying, he adds with a chuckle, that a house without cow dung is like a body without a soul. You can't help but imagine a modern real estate listing. 3-bedroom cottage, 2 baths, and a cow dung floor for good luck. You take another sip of the milk, letting the warmth linger on your tongue, and glance at the fire, the flames flickering low and steady, the smoke curling into the night. The farmer's voice grows softer, almost like a lullaby now, as he shares a story. One of those quiet, half-believed tales that seems to drift between fact and myth. Some say cows can sense earthquakes before they happen, he murmurs, his eyes distant, reflecting the firelight. That they'll stand still, heads raised, listening for something we can't hear. Others say they bring good fortune, that a cow's gaze can chase away bad spirits. Who knows? Maybe it's true. Maybe they just know things we don't. You sit in the warmth of the firelight, the smell of dung smoke in your hair, the taste of milk on your tongue, and wonder if that's part of the sacredness too. Not just the gifts cows give, but the mysteries they carry. The farmer sighs, shifting his weight on the ground, and the conversation lapses into a companionable silence. The fire crackles, the air hums with the distant sounds of night. Crickets, the soft rustle of leaves, and somewhere, the slow rhythmic breathing of cows resting in the dark. You close your eyes for a moment, feeling the weight of the day settle into your bones, the warmth of the milk soothing your chest, and the scent of smoke grounding you in this quiet, ancient rhythm. The farmer hums softly under his breath, a tune as old as the earth itself, and the fire glows steadily, a small, living reminder of a world where even dung is sacred. Somewhere in the distance, a cow lows softly, its voice a low, steady hum that seems to ripple through the night, a reminder that in this world, nothing is wasted, and everything has a place. The night deepens, cool and velvet, and you wander once more into the quiet darkness, the fire's glow fading behind you like a warm memory. The ground feels soft beneath your feet, the grass damp with dew, and in the distance, you hear the faint clatter of hooves, a soft, rhythmic tapping that echoes through the still air like a heartbeat. You follow the sound, your breath misting in the cool night, until you see them, a caravan of traders winding its slow way across the moonlit plain, their ox-drawn carts creaking under the weight of clay pots, woven baskets, and bundles of cloth. The traders' voices rise in low, steady conversation, punctuated by the occasional burst of laughter, the clink of metal, the soft thud of something shifting in a cart. And moving among them, unbothered, unhurried, are cows. Not just a few, but dozens, walking alongside the traders like silent, four-legged companions, their bells jingling faintly with each step. You drift closer, your footsteps muffled by the dust, and catch snippets of the traders' talk. One man gestures with a gnarled walking stick, saying, "Yes, yes, cattle raids again. They took 4 cows from the village last week. A bold move, but they'll pay for it." Another, younger, shakes his head. "They always come for the cows first. Always have, always will." The words settle into your mind like a pebble dropped into a still pond. Cattle raids. You'd heard whispers of it before. Stories of ancient kingdoms where cows were wealth itself. Their value so high they became the targets of daring raids, midnight thefts, and even wars. You imagine it now. A dark night like this one. Shadows slipping across the fields, men on horseback with blades glinting in the moonlight. Their eyes set not on gold or jewels, but on cows. Living, breathing treasure. The traders talk of treaties broken, alliances tested, and how the loss of a herd could tip the balance of power in a region. You can almost hear the echoes of hooves pounding through history, the shouts of warriors, the cries of farmers waking to find their fields empty, their wealth vanished into the night. And yet, here tonight, the cows move as if none of it ever happened. Their ears flick lazily, their eyes half-lidded, their steps steady and slow. They are creatures of the present, not burdened by the weight of ancient quarrels or the schemes of kings. A trader glances at you, his face lined with years of Sunan dust, and offers a wry smile. "Cows," he says, his voice low. "They're peace and war, life and loss. They've been stolen more times than I can count, yet they always find their way back to us." You nod slowly, the weight of those words sinking in. It's strange, isn't it? How an animal so quiet, so seemingly simple, could stir up such a storm. Raids, battles, politics, and debates that stretch across centuries. And yet, here they are, just walking, chewing, breathing. You walk alongside the caravan for a while, listening to the soft shuffle of feet and hooves, the clink of pots, the gentle murmur of voices blending with the night. The cows seem to hum with the rhythm of the road, their presence both ordinary and somehow eternal. A trader ahead pauses to adjust a bundle on his cart, and you catch the scent of jaggery, spices, and fresh hay mingling in the cool air. The stars overhead blink quietly, as if they, too, are watching this slow procession, this living thread of human and animal winding through the darkness. You wonder, as you gaze at the cows, whether they remember the raids, the stolen nights, the fear and the noise, or if, in their quiet way, they've always been the same, patient, steady, and somehow above it all. Historians still debate the details, of course. How many cows were taken, who struck first, whether it was about wealth, survival, or power. The records blur, the stories shift, but the cows remain. You take a deep breath, feeling the cool air fill your lungs, the sound of bells and hooves blending into a steady lullaby that seeps into your bones. The caravan continues its slow march through the night, and the cows, unhurried as ever, walk on, living symbols of a past too vast to fully grasp, yet close enough to touch. And as the night deepens, you find yourself drifting again. The road stretching long and quiet ahead, the weight of history soft against your shoulders, the steady breath of cows filling the air like a slow, sacred hymn. The road stretches on beneath the quiet gaze of the stars, and your steps grow slower, more thoughtful, as the night deepens. The caravan's soft clatter fades into the distance, and you find yourself drifting toward the edge of the village once more, where a small thatched roof home stands, lit by a single flickering lamp. A weary merchant sits cross-legged at the threshold, his face lined with the quiet wisdom of someone who spent years measuring life by the weight of goods and the tread of dusty roads. His hands cradle a cup of warm milk, steam curling up into the cool night air like a gentle ghost. He pats the ground beside him, an unspoken invitation, and you settle there, the rough straw mat scratchy beneath you, the scent of burnt ghee lingering faintly. The merchant sighs, his breath slow and steady, and begins to speak, not loudly, not urgently, but as if he's telling you something that's always been true, whether you've known it or not. "You know," he says, swirling the milk in his cup, "there was a time when taxes weren't paid in coins, but in cows." You blink, letting the thoughts settle in, and he chuckles softly, the sound like dry leaves brushing against one another. "Yes, a man's wealth was counted, not by silver or gold, but by the heads of cattle he could offer, sometimes as tribute, sometimes as temple gifts, and sometimes, well, to keep the king happy." You imagine that for a moment, a royal tax collector arriving at your door, not with a ledger and a pen, but with a rope, ready to lead away a cow or two. There's something almost absurd about it, and yet, it makes sense. In a world where cows were the source of milk, manure, fuel, and even medicine, they were living currency, soft-eyed, slow-moving, and occasionally a bit stubborn, but currency nonetheless. The merchant shifts, his bones creaking like the wood of an old cart, and adds, "Some say that's why cows became so sacred, because they were too valuable to lose. If you kill a cow, you lose more than meat. You lose milk, dung for your fires, strength for your plows. You lose the future. He shrugs, the motion gentle, as if he's not trying to convince you, just sharing a truth that's been passed down through the dust of centuries. And yet, he continues with a wry smile, historians still argue about it. Was it faith that made the cow sacred, or was it just economics dressed up in a holy robe? Maybe it's both. Maybe we revere what we need. He pauses, sipping his milk, and you watch as the lamp's flame flickers, casting soft shadows on the walls. A cow bellows softly in the distance, its voice low and steady, and the merchant tilts his head, listening as if the sound itself carries some hidden wisdom. Even now, he says almost to himself, some say that the breath of a cow can purify sins, that to touch a cow is to touch the divine. A strange thought, isn't it? That an animal can carry the weight of our hopes, our mistakes, our prayers. You glance at the cup in his hands, the milk swirling gently, and wonder, how many generations have lifted cups like this, warmed by the same fires, breathing the same air heavy with dung smoke and devotion? The merchant's gaze drifts out into the night, his voice softening into a near whisper. I remember once when I was a boy, a cow wandered into our home during a storm. We thought it was just seeking shelter, but my grandmother said, "No, it's a blessing. The gods have sent her." He chuckles again, his eyes crinkling at the corners. Of course, the cow ate half our food stores before she left, but still, a blessing. You both sit there for a while, the silence wrapping around you like a shawl, the air thick with the quiet sounds of the night, the distant creak of a cart, the soft whisper of wind through the trees, the slow, rhythmic breathing of a cow nearby. It's strange, isn't it? How the world can be so noisy, so complicated, and yet, in moments like this, everything feels simple. A cup of milk, the scent of smoke, the slow, steady breath of a cow just beyond the doorway. You feel your own breath match the rhythm of the night, slower now, deeper, like the earth itself is humming a soft lullaby. And as your eyelids grow heavier, you wonder, how many lives have been shaped by these quiet creatures, these cows who ask for so little and give so much? The answer, you realize, is probably more than you'll ever know. The hours slip by softly, and you find yourself moving through the village like a quiet shadow, the sounds of night folding around you in a gentle hush. The moon glows pale above, casting a soft silver light across the thatched rooftops, the fields, and the slow-moving shapes of cows resting in the grass. Their breath rises in lazy plumes, drifting into the air like little wisps of fog. You pass a narrow lane where a cow stands stubbornly in the middle of the path, her tail flicking with a kind of lazy authority, as if daring anyone to challenge her right to be there. A cart driver approaches from the opposite direction, his hands on his hips, shaking his head in mock frustration. "Ah, she's here again," he mutters with a sigh, though there's no real anger in his voice. Just the resigned acceptance of someone who knows that in this village, the cows have the final say. You step aside as the cow turns her massive head slowly, her eyes half-lidded, her ears twitching, as if she's overheard a joke too old to bother laughing at. Her hooves click softly against the ground as she finally decides to move, sauntering away with the unhurried grace of someone who knows she's untouchable. The driver calls after her. "Go on then. Off to find more butter, are you?" And the group nearby bursts into laughter. Someone nearby, a young man with a basket of mangoes, grins and says, "You know, they say Krishna used to steal butter from the village women. Maybe she thinks she's following his example." Ah, yes, Krishna. The divine cowherd, the butter thief, the playful god who danced in the moonlight and charmed the hearts of all who met him. The stories come rushing back like an old melody. Krishna, who grew up in the village of Vrindavan, surrounded by cows and their gentle, lowing presence. You can almost hear it in the night air. The sound of flutes, the laughter of children, the clatter of clay pots being hidden high on shelves, only to be raided by a boy with dark eyes and an impish grin. Krishna, they say, loved butter so much he'd sneak into homes, steal it straight from the churn, and share it with his friends. And of course with the cows, who always seemed to know when a little extra treat was coming their way. The young man recounts the story with a twinkle in his eye, his hands miming the act of lifting a pot of butter high above his head. And you can't help but smile at the thought of a god so playful, so mischievous, so human. Another voice pipes up, a woman balancing a basket on her hip, adding that the cows in those stories weren't just animals but companions, part of the divine dance. They followed Krishna, they knew his voice, they shared in his joy. You glance at the cows resting nearby, their eyes closed, their ears flicking at the occasional insect, and you wonder, do they know? Do they feel the weight of these stories, the countless prayers whispered in their name, the songs sung to honor their place in the world? Or are they simply content, breathing in the night, dreaming of soft grass and warm sun? Historians, you remember, still debate the origins of Krishna's cowherd tales. Were they meant to elevate the simple life of the farmer, to make the everyday sacred? Or were they a reflection of a culture so deeply tied to the rhythms of cattle that even its gods must dwell among them? The stories blur, the lines between myth and memory softening like butter melting in warm hands. You linger for a moment longer, letting the sounds of the village settle into you. The distant creak of a cart, the soft rustle of trees, the occasional low moo that drifts through the air like a lullaby. The moon glints off the brass bells around the cows' necks, the faintest shimmer in the darkness, and you imagine Krishna's flute weaving through the night, invisible but somehow always there, in the soft breath of cows, in the laughter of children, in the gentle, endless cycle of milk and stories, stories and milk. You step away slowly, the night wrapping around you like a shawl, the taste of mango and the scent of ghee lingering on your tongue, and you wonder what other tales the cows might carry in their quiet, steady hearts. The air cools a little as you continue your slow meander, your steps softer now, like the night is coaxing you into a deeper quiet. You pass a low stone wall where the grass grows tall and soft, bending under the weight of dew. The cows rest here, scattered like dark shapes beneath the stars, their breathing slow and steady, tails flicking lazily at unseen insects. You pause, leaning against the rough stone, listening to the low hum of the village settling in for the night. A group of elders sits nearby, their conversation drifting in and out of the air like the smoke from their clay pipes. They speak in soft tones, their words half murmured, their laughter low and worn smooth by the years. One of them, a man with a voice like dry leaves, leans forward, gesturing with his pipe and says, "But you know, the real question is, why did cows become sacred in the first place? Was it because of the gods, or because we needed them too much to let them go?" The others nod, a few grumbling in agreement, and one woman, her hair long and silver like the moonlight, chimes in, "Or maybe it was both. Maybe the stories came because we couldn't afford to lose them." Her words hang in the air for a moment, weighty and soft, and you feel the history in them, centuries of quiet debates whispered over fires, arguments carried down through generations like well-worn recipes. They talk about famine years, when grain grew scarce, but cows still gave milk, when a single cow could mean the difference between hunger and survival. Someone mentions how the dung was used to patch walls, to keep the cooking fires burning, to coat the floors and drive away pests. Another adds how cow urine, yes, that again, was mixed into medicines, offered as a cure for everything from stomach aches to fevers. And then comes a story, spoken in a half-laughing, half-serious tone. How some believed that a cow's very breath could cleanse a person of their sins. Imagine that, the old man says with a grin. A sacred puff of air, and poof, clean as a whistle. You can't help but chuckle softly at the image, but there's something about it that lingers. A strange, almost tender sense that in this world, even the simplest, quietest creatures carried the weight of prayers, the hopes of families, the faith of entire villages. The conversation drifts on, looping back and forth like a lazy river. Someone raises the question of whether cows were ever eaten in the old days, and a heated debate sparks briefly, voices rising, eyebrows furrowing. Some texts say no, never, an elder insists, his voice firm, tapping his cane on the ground for emphasis. But others, the silver-haired woman counters gently, suggest that perhaps in times of great need. Her words trail off, and the silence stretches, soft, a little heavy, as if the night itself is listening in. You can almost feel the quiet tension in the air, the weight of centuries-old questions that never quite find answers. You think back to the old debate, whether cows were sacred from the start, or whether the reverence grew over time, born of necessity, practicality, and a sprinkle of mythology. Historians still argue about it, and probably always will. But here, under the stars in the warm circle of firelight and the soft, steady breath of cows in the grass, it feels less important somehow. The stories live on, not because they're proven, but because they're told. Because they've been whispered in the dark, passed down like a cup of warm milk, shared by those who need comfort, those who need hope. The elders fall quiet, their heads bowed slightly as the night hums around them. A cow shifts nearby, her bells jingling softly, and you catch the scent of warm earth, sweet hay, and the faint, smoky trace of dung fires long since burned low. You breathe it in slowly, letting it settle into your bones, feeling the rhythm of the night. Steady, slow, unhurried, and as your eyelids grow heavier, you find yourself wondering not so much why cows were sacred, but how they came to carry so many stories on their backs, their quiet presence woven into the fabric of life itself. The night deepens, and the hum of voices, the soft clink of bells, and the slow, steady breath of cows all blend together, wrapping you in a gentle, endless lullaby. The night is heavy now, the stars quiet and distant, like they're listening in on the world below. You drift along a narrow path that winds between homes, where shadows stretch long and soft, and the glow of clay lamps flickers faintly behind wooden shutters. The air is cool against your skin, and you find yourself drawn toward the faint sound of chanting, rising and falling in a gentle, rhythmic murmur. You follow the sound until you reach the edge of a small clearing, where a family has gathered near a funeral pyre. The flames crackle softly, casting long shadows that dance across the faces of those standing nearby, silent, solemn, their eyes glistening in the flickering light. A cow stands nearby, her silhouette calm and unmoving, as if holding space for the moment. The scent of burning wood mingles with the faint, grassy musk of the cow, and the air hums with an odd sense of stillness, like time has paused just for a breath. Someone murmurs a prayer, and you catch a few words about the soul's journey, about the river, about release and return. A soft sob breaks the silence, and you watch as a woman gently places a small bowl of milk near the flames, the liquid glowing golden in the firelight. The man beside her whispers, almost too quietly to hear, that milk is an offering for the soul, a gift to ease the spirit's passage, a symbol of nourishment in this life and the next. The cow standing nearby shifts her weight slightly, her bells chiming faintly in the stillness as if acknowledging the ritual. You step back a little, the scene feeling both intimate and timeless, and remember an old belief you once heard, that cow's milk wasn't just food for the body, but food for the soul. Some even said it could purify the spirit after death, a final gift from the animal that had sustained life in so many ways. It's a strange, almost tender thought, that in this quiet moment of grief, the cow stands as a silent witness, a gentle bridge between the living and the departed. A breeze stirs the air, carrying the scent of milk, ghee, and wood smoke, and you feel the weight of it all settle softly around you. The warmth of the fire, the quiet strength of the cow, the hushed prayers that drift up into the night like smoke. The elders nearby speak in low tones, their words weaving through the air like threads in a tapestry. One of them mentions an old tale, how cow's milk was said to nourish not just the body, but also the mind and spirit. It was believed to sharpen the intellect, to steady the heart, to calm the restless mind. You wonder if that's why even now, a simple cup of warm milk before bed feels like a small comfort, a gentle balm for the soul. The conversation drifts, as it often does, toward the questions no one can quite answer. Why milk? Why cows? Why the rituals have held for so long? Some say it's faith, some say it's tradition, and some say it's just habit. But here, in the glow of the fire, with the cow's slow breath rising into the night, none of it feels like it needs an answer. The cow blinks slowly, her ears flicking at the crackle of the fire, and you wonder if she understands her role in all of this, or if she's simply being, breathing, watching, waiting. A soft chant rises again, weaving through the night air, and the cow shifts slightly, her hooves pressing into the earth. The scent of milk drifts upward, mingling with the flames, and the whole scene feels suspended. Half in this world, half in another. You close your eyes for a moment, letting the sounds and scents wash over you. The crackling fire, the murmured prayers, the soft, steady clink of the cow's bell as she breathes. And as the flames burn lower, as the night wraps itself tighter around you, you feel the weight of centuries in this simple moment. A life ending, another continuing, and the quiet, sacred presence of the cow, standing as she always has, watching, waiting, breathing softly into the dark. The fire fades behind you as you wander once more into the hush of the night. Your breath slow, your steps soft against the earth. The air feels cooler now, and the scent of smoke and milk lingers faintly, clinging to your skin like a memory. You move past rows of simple homes, their mud walls in the faint glow of lanterns, and find yourself drawn toward a low building where soft voices hum like a lullaby. You pause by the doorway, peering inside. It's a potter's workshop, small, cluttered, the walls lined with clay pots in all stages of completion. The floor glows golden in the lamplight, and a young man sits cross-legged, smoothing a lump of clay with his hands, his fingers moving in slow, practiced circles. Beside him, a small boy is mixing something in a shallow bowl, his tongue poking out in concentration. You lean closer, curiosity tugging at you, and catch a faint, familiar scent. Earthy, a little smoky, a little sweet. It takes a moment before you realize it's cow dung. The boy's father notices your puzzled look and grins, a warm, easy smile that crinkles the corners of his eyes. "Ah," he says, "you're wondering why we mix dung into the clay, aren't you?" You nod, and he gestures to the walls around you, the shelves lined with pots, the floor beneath your feet, even the roof above. Cow dung gives strength to the bricks, makes them bind tighter, dry harder. It's been used for generations, an old trick, but a good one. He runs a hand along a smooth clay pot, the surface gleaming in the lamplight, and adds, almost as an afterthought, They say it keeps away termites too. And the scent, well, it keeps the house feeling clean. The old ways, you know. You take a slow breath, letting the scent settle over you, and realize it's not unpleasant. Earthy, warm, almost comforting, in a way that makes you wonder how much of the modern world has forgotten. How many quiet, simple tricks like this were lost in the rush of concrete and steel. The boy continues his work, pressing the mixture into a mold, his small hands quick and sure. You watch the clay take shape, the tiny flecks of straw and dung giving it a rough texture, and you feel a quiet awe at the way it all fits together. Cow, earth, hands, fire. A cycle older than memory, pressed into walls and vessels, baked in the heat of a village sun. The father hums softly, a tune as old as the trade itself, and says almost absently, "They say the gods smile on a house built with dung and clay. Keeps the spirits happy, keeps the family safe." You glance around the room, noticing small charms tied near the doorway. Bundles of neem leaves, a faded garland of flowers, and above them, a rough, hand-painted image of a cow. The threads of belief run deep here, woven into the very walls, mixed into the mortar, shaped by hands that learned from their fathers, who learned from theirs, and yet there's debate, even here. The potter shrugs, his voice dropping to a soft murmur. Some say it's just tradition, you know? Not magic, just practical. But others, well, they'll tell you the dung carries a blessing. That it's sacred, like the milk, like the breath, like the cow itself. His words linger, quiet and thoughtful, and you feel the weight of it all. The stories, the faith, the practicality, the quiet, steady presence of cows in a world built from earth and fire and breath. The boy finishes his task, holding up the rough, damp brick with a proud grin. The father ruffles his hair, and they sit together in the warm glow of the lamp, their silhouettes soft and golden against the clay-streaked walls. Outside, a cow lows softly in the dark, her bell chiming faintly, a sound that seems to blend with the night itself, a soft, steady heartbeat in a world shaped by hands and hooves alike. You take a slow breath, letting it all sink in. The scent of clay and dung, the glow of the lamp, the quiet murmur of a family shaping their lives with the gifts of a creature so often overlooked. And as you step away into the cool night, you wonder, how many stories, how many homes, how many lives have been built on the backs of these slow, steady creatures? The answer, you feel, is more than you will ever truly know. The path feels softer beneath your feet now, as if the earth itself has been worn smooth by centuries of footsteps, by farmers, by potters, by wandering storytellers, and always, always, by cows. The scent of dung smoke and damp earth lingers faintly, wrapping around you like an old wool blanket, and somewhere nearby, you hear the low, steady clink of a bell. You follow the sound, moving slowly, quietly, until you reach a small clearing where a circle of ghee lamps flickers gently in the pre-dawn breeze. The air hums softly, as if holding its breath, and a group of villagers stands gathered in a loose circle, their hands folded in prayer. At the center stands a cow, broad, calm, her coat dappled with gold powder, her horns painted bright red, her forehead marked with a careful smear of turmeric. The flickering flames cast long, gentle shadows across her body, and the smell of rosewater and sandalwood hangs in the air like a whispered promise. A priest steps forward, his white robes fluttering in the breeze, and begins to chant softly, waving a small flame in front of the cow's face. The words rise and fall in a steady rhythm, like the slow breath of the earth itself, and you feel a strange sense of quiet awe settle over you. The villagers murmur in response, and someone nearby leans in, whispering, It's said that cows carry cosmic energy, that their presence can purify the air, the land, even the heart. You blink, letting the thought roll over you like a slow tide, and glance at the cow again. Her eyes half-lidded, her breath steady, her tail swishing lazily. She doesn't seem to be aware of her supposed cosmic importance. Or maybe she knows, and simply doesn't care. A child tugs at her mother's sari, whispering, "Will the cow bless us today?" The mother smiles faintly and nods, her voice low and warm. "Yes, child, she will bless us with her presence, with her breath, with her gaze." You watch as a man approaches with a small bowl of turmeric water, sprinkling it gently over the cow's back. The cow barely flinches, as if this is all a familiar routine, just another morning in a world where cows are more than animals. They're living symbols of prosperity, patience, and quiet resilience. Someone offers a handful of fresh grass, and the cow lowers her head, chewing slowly, her jaws moving in that steady, endless rhythm that feels like a lullaby for the earth itself. And then, with a faint clink of her bell, she lifts her head, and the group lets out a collective sigh, as if something unseen, something deeply felt, has just been affirmed. You wonder, quietly, if she knows, if she senses the hopes and dreams these people have poured into her, if she feels the weight of the prayers, the stories, the centuries of reverence woven into her very presence. Or if, perhaps, she's just a cow, happy to have a bit of grass, a patch of warm sun, and a few extra pats from the children who giggle and run their hands along her back. The priest's chant fades into the soft rustling of leaves, and the villagers begin to disperse, their footsteps light against the earth. The cow shifts slightly, her bell chiming, and someone nearby laughs gently, saying, "Did you know? They say cows can sense earthquakes before they happen?" You raise an eyebrow, and the speaker shrugs, a half grin tugging at the corner of his mouth. Maybe it's true. Maybe they just know things we don't. The conversation drifts, soft and unhurried, blending with the early morning sounds, the distant clatter of pots, the soft swoosh of a broom sweeping the ground, the first calls of birds waking in the trees. And as the sky shifts from deep indigo to pale lavender, you feel a strange, comforting sense of continuity, of lives lived in quiet, steady rhythms, of cows standing like silent guardians at the heart of it all, their breath rising in soft, warm plumes, their bells chiming softly like the ticking of an ancient clock. You take a slow breath, feeling the cool air fill your lungs, and wonder how many mornings like this have unfolded before, and how many more will come. Blessing or not, cosmic energy or not, the cows will stand, and the world will keep turning, steady as their breath. The morning creeps in slowly, softening the edges of the world, as the pale light spills across the fields, the rooftops, the quiet faces of cows grazing lazily by the roadside. You follow the path back toward the village square, where a small crowd is beginning to gather. Men in loose cotton tunics, women in colorful saris, children darting between them like playful birds. A soft chant drifts on the breeze, the words rising and falling like the rhythm of a lullaby. You see a cow standing at the center of it all, her horns wrapped in strands of marigold, her hide dusted with turmeric, her forehead marked with a smear of bright vermilion. A small bowl of rosewater sits at her feet, and a man pours a thin stream over her back, the scent rising into the air like a blessing. You pause, watching as an elder steps forward, his hands shaking slightly as he holds up a brass tray. On it sits a small lamp, a few grains of rice, and a sprig of sacred tulsi. His voice is a low murmur as he circles the tray in front of the cow's face, the flame casting flickering shadows across her large, calm eyes. "She is a symbol of the earth," he says softly to no one in particular, though a few people nod, their faces thoughtful. Nurturing, patient, and enduring. You step closer, drawn in by the quiet reverence, and notice a small boy standing nearby, wide-eyed, clutching his mother's hand. He whispers, barely audible, "Does the cow really have the power to bring good luck?" His mother smiles gently, smoothing his hair as she replies, "Maybe not luck like coins falling from the sky, but peace, health, and plenty of milk. That's luck enough for most of us." You hear a soft chuckle from an old man sitting nearby, his eyes twinkling as he leans on his cane. Some say the old texts even claim cows radiate cosmic energy, like little suns walking the earth. You glance at the cow, who, at that very moment, lets out a long, slow breath and flicks her tail with supreme indifference. Cosmic energy? Maybe. Or maybe she's just tired of standing still for the ceremony. The elder continues the ritual, sprinkling a pinch of rice onto the cow's forehead, and someone else offers a small lump of jaggery, which the cow accepts with a slow, deliberate chew. The sound of her teeth grinding is oddly soothing, like the turning of a giant, slow clock, measuring time in chews and swallows. You notice a few younger villagers standing off to the side, watching with a mix of amusement and quiet respect. One of them whispers to another, "It's strange, isn't it? How an animal can be part of our prayers, our food, our walls, our stories, all at once." The other shrugs, a half-smile tugging at his mouth. Maybe that's the point. Maybe she's sacred because she's so ordinary. That thought lingers with you. This idea that sacredness doesn't have to be flashy or miraculous. Sometimes it's just there, in the warm breath of a cow, in the steady clink of a bell, in the quiet way she stands as a community gathers around her, offering garlands, prayers, and perhaps a little leftover chapati. The elder raises his voice slightly, reciting an old verse about cows being the mothers of the world, how their milk sustains, their dung fuels, their breath purifies. You wonder if he believes every word, or if the words have simply become a part of him, a melody he knows by heart, even if he's forgotten where it came from. The cow shifts her weight, her bell jingling softly, and the boy tugs at his mother's sleeve again. "Do you think she knows we're praying to her?" he asks in a small voice. His mother smiles, tilting her head as she looks at the cow. "Maybe she does," she says softly. "Or maybe she just likes the attention." You can't help but smile at that, watching as the cow flicks her ears and swishes her tail, utterly unbothered by the ceremony swirling around her. Historians might still debate whether the sacredness of cows is about faith, utility, or something in between. But here, in this moment, it feels simpler than that. The cow is here. The prayers are whispered. The air smells of marigolds and milk. And that, for now, is enough. You step back into the cool morning air, the sounds of the square fading behind you, the faint scent of rosewater clinging to the breeze. The cow stands steady, her breath slow and warm, as the day stretches quietly ahead. The sun has begun its slow golden climb into the sky, stretching long, lazy rays across the rooftops and fields, casting everything in a warm, honey-colored glow. You walk quietly along a narrow path bordered by low stone walls, where cows graze with gentle patience, their tails flicking in the soft breeze. The village hums with the low rhythm of morning chores, brooms sweeping courtyards, pots clanging gently as they're filled with water, and the occasional sharp whistle of a kettle. Amidst it all, the cows move steadily, a calm, unhurried presence that feels as much a part of the village as the earth itself. You pause by a weathered fence where a man leans against the post, his arms folded across his chest, his eyes following the slow, swaying movement of the cows in the field. His face is lined with years of seen and dust, his expression thoughtful, almost distant, as if he's watching something far older than the cows themselves. "Funny, isn't it?" he says softly, almost as if to himself. How we've told stories about them for so long, and yet no one agrees on why they became sacred. You glance at him, curious, and he smiles wryly, shifting his weight on the post. Some say it was the milk, that sweet, warm gift that kept families alive through lean seasons. Others claim it was sheer dung. Yes, dung, can you believe it? Fuel for the fire, a way to cook and keep warm. He gestures toward a nearby hut, its walls coated with a smooth layer of clay mixed with, you guessed it, cow dung. The surface glinting faintly in the morning sun. And then there are the scholars, he continues, his voice light but edged with amusement, who argue about whether it was all just a clever strategy. Protect the cows, protect the food, protect the future. He pauses, watching a cow amble lazily across the field, her ears flicking at a persistent fly, her eyes half-lidded with the serene, impenetrable gaze of someone who has no time for human debates. Maybe it's all of those things, he muses. Maybe none, or maybe we just needed a symbol, something to hold on to, something simple, steady, and quiet. And the cow, well, she never argues back. You find yourself smiling at the thought, the way he says it so matter-of-factly, like it's the most natural thing in the world. A breeze stirs the grasses, carrying the faint scent of milk, warm earth, and, yes, of course, a hint of dung. It's a smell you're almost used to by now, comforting in its own way, like the scent of a home that's lived in. Worn soft by years of family, stories, and small moments. You glance around and notice a small, dusty scroll tucked into the man's belt. Curiosity nudges you, and you ask what it says. He chuckles, pulling it free, and unfurls it with the casual flick of his wrist. It's an old verse, he says, tapping the paper lightly. About cows, naturally. Says they're the givers of life, the breath, the milk, the fire, the soul. He reads a line aloud, his voice soft, almost reverent, though there's a twinkle in his eye. The cow is the earth, the cow is the moon, the cow is the sun. You raise an eyebrow, and he laughs, a warm, easy sound that melts into the morning air. Bit much, isn't it? He admits. But, well, it makes you think, doesn't it? How much of what we believe is truth, and how much is just comfort? You nod slowly, the thoughts sitting heavy and soft in your chest, and glance back at the field where the cows graze, utterly unbothered by their cosmic responsibilities. They chew, they breathe, they flick their tails. The man rolls up the scroll, tucks it back into his belt, and stretches his arms overhead, his joints creaking like an old cartwheel. Come back tomorrow, he says with a grin. There's always another story to tell, always another question to ask. You smile, feeling the gentle tug of the moment, the quiet weight of time that seems to stretch endlessly across these fields, carried on the slow breath of cows. And as you turn to leave, the man's voice follows you, low and light like a breeze. Sacred or not, we owe them more than we'll ever know. The thought lingers with you, soft as the morning sun, as you walk on, past the grazing cows, past the slow, steady hum of the village, past the questions that may never be fully answered. The morning grows brighter, though the sun is still low, casting long golden shadows across the fields. The world feels quiet in that particular way it does just after dawn, where every sound seems softer, every breath slower, every step more deliberate. You follow a winding path that leads past small huts and drying bundles of grain, until you hear a gentle clink of a bell and the soft thwap of a tail brushing against a cow's flank. You glance up, and there she is, a lone cow standing at the edge of a courtyard, her eyes half closed, her breath rising in soft plumes. A man in a simple cotton dhoti sits nearby, cross-legged on a low wooden stool, a bundle of herbs in his lap. His hands move steadily, grinding the leaves into a paste with a stone mortar, and his voice floats into the air in a slow, rhythmic cadence, half chant, half conversation with himself. You step closer, curious, and he glances up with a faint, knowing smile, as if he's been expecting you. "Ah, you've come at the right time," he says, his voice gentle, as though not to disturb the cow standing nearby. He gestures toward her. She's part of it all, you know. Not just the milk, the dung, the breath, but even the air around her. They say a cow's presence alone can purify the space, that her very breath can cleanse the air of bad energy. Her gaze can wash away sin. You raise an eyebrow, but he just smiles, turning back to his herbs. "It's an old belief, yes," he continues, "but think about it. She gives without taking. Her milk feeds, her dung warms, her very body sustains. Is it so strange that we might think her breath could heal too?" He gestures with a nod toward the cow, who shifts her weight lazily, her tail flicking in a slow, unbothered rhythm. "People still come here sometimes," he murmurs, almost as if telling a secret. "They stand close to the cows. They breathe with them. Some say they feel lighter afterward, as if a weight has been lifted. Some say they've been blessed." You watch as an old woman approaches quietly, her sari brushing against the ground, her hands folded in a gentle prayer. She stops a few paces from the cow, bows her head, and stands perfectly still, breathing in the air, as if drawing in something unseen, something sacred. The cow flicks her ears once, then lowers her head to nibble at a patch of grass, utterly indifferent to the reverence around her. You glance at the man and he shrugs with a quiet laugh. "Maybe it's faith. Maybe it's a story we tell ourselves to feel safe. Or maybe there's something in it after all." His hands continue grinding the herbs, the scent of mint and turmeric rising into the air, mingling with the warm, grassy smell of the cow. A breeze stirs, carrying the soft jingle of the cow's bell and the faint murmur of distant voices. Traders setting up stalls, children chasing each other through the lanes. The low, steady hum of a village waking. Historians, you remember, still debate the origins of these beliefs, whether they were born of necessity, of reverence, or of simple gratitude for the gifts cows offered. The man glances at you, as if reading your thoughts, and says softly, "Does it matter in the end? The cow is here, we are here, and we breathe the same air." You stand for a while longer, the sunlight warming your skin, the scent of herbs and milk and earth swirling gently around you. The old woman murmurs a soft prayer, then turns away, her steps slow and light, as if the weight she carried has eased, just a little. And the cow? She stands there still, breathing, blinking, chewing, her gaze steady and unreadable, like a silent witness to the endless, quiet turning of the world. You take a slow breath yourself, feeling the air fill your lungs, warm and steady, and wonder, how many lives have been shaped by these quiet creatures? How many hopes carried in a single, sacred breath? The answer, you think, is as endless as the stories themselves. The sun hangs higher now, casting long golden fingers across the fields, the rooftops, and the quiet shapes of cows grazing in the soft light. The village hums with the slow rhythm of the day, tools clinking, water splashing into clay pots, voices rising and falling in gentle conversation. And all the while, the cows remain, moving, chewing, breathing, their presence steady and unhurried, like an unspoken thread woven through the very fabric of life here. You wander toward the edge of a field, where a banyan tree spreads its roots deep into the earth, its branches thick and sprawling, heavy with the soft rustle of leaves. Beneath its shade, a small group of villagers sits in a loose circle, their laughter light and easy, as they share stories, snacks, and the comfort of the morning air. You settle nearby, the grass soft beneath you, the scent of fresh-cut hay and warm earth rising gently with the breeze. A man with a weathered face and a voice like worn leather leans back against the tree, his eyes half closed as he speaks. "They say cows are sacred," he begins, his voice slow and even, as if each word has been polished smooth by time. "Not just because they give, not just because they feed, but because they remind us. They remind us to slow down, to breathe deep, to live simply." The group nods in quiet agreement, their faces thoughtful, their hands resting on their knees. One woman, her sari faded and soft with age, chuckles and adds, "And to be stubborn when we need to." The laughter bubbles up, light and warm, and even the cows nearby seem to join in. One flicking her ears lazily, another shifting her weight with a soft, satisfied sigh. A boy lying on his stomach in the grass asks in a sleepy voice, "Do you think they know that we see them as sacred?" His mother smiles, brushing his hair back from his forehead. "Maybe," she says softly. "Or maybe they just like the chapatis we give them." You glance at the cows again, chewing, breathing, watching the world with that slow, timeless gaze. And you wonder, maybe that's the point. Maybe they don't have to know. Maybe their gift is simply being present, patient, unbothered by the endless questions of why and how. The stories drift on, soft and unhurried, mixing with the rustle of the banyan leaves, the low hum of insects in the grass, and the distant clink of a cowbell in the wind. Someone shares a tale about a king who once gave away 100 cows to prove his devotion. Another recalls an old verse, how the cow is said to embody the earth, the rivers, even the sky itself. And yet, for all the stories, for all the hymns and rituals, the cow simply is, standing in the field, breathing in the sun, swishing her tail in quiet contentment. You breathe in deeply, the air warm and rich with the scents of grass, milk, and earth, and let it fill your lungs, slow and steady. The world feels softer here, like the sharp edges have been worn down by time, by stories, by the quiet, patient presence of creatures who have watched it all. Famine and feast, joy and grief, prayers whispered and forgotten. The conversation fades, leaving behind only the gentle hum of the morning, the soft thwap of a tail against a cow's flank, and the rhythmic clink of a bell swaying in the breeze. You close your eyes for a moment, feeling the warmth of the sun on your skin, the steady breath of the cows in the distance, and the weight of the world gently lifting. The cows graze on, slow and steady, their presence a quiet hymn to the enduring, the simple, the sacred, woven into the ordinary. And as the breeze moves through the banyan's leaves, as the sounds of the village drift softly into the distance, you feel it. That strange, subtle magic of a world where the sacred isn't always in the grand, but in the small, the slow, the steady. You take a final, deep breath, the scents and sounds settling into your bones, and let it all fade, soft and slow, like the quiet lull of a cow's breath in the morning light. Now, dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into sleep together.